Good day, everyone. We are from Grade 12 St. John, here to educate you regarding disasters that are frequent here in the Philippines. So, what are we going to cover today? So, firstly, the definition of disaster in the Philippines and its relation with disasters. Number two, earthquakes, the do's and don'ts before, during, and after. Number three, typhoons, the examples thereof and the do's and don'ts. And lastly, fires, the examples thereof and the do's and don'ts. Let us begin. Before discussing the specific disasters, let's go over and familiarize ourselves with the concept of disaster first. So, what is a disaster? A disaster is a sudden calamitous occurrence that causes great harm, injury, destruction, and devastation to life and property. Disrupts the usual course of life, causing both physical and emotional distress. It is a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or society, involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses and impacts which exceed the ability of the affected community or society to cope using its own resources. Furthermore, it affects both life and property. So, we can classify disaster according to its severity. We classified it in four categories. Firstly, we have what is called minor damage, and that is, for example, broken windows and doors. It is very minor; it doesn't affect a lot of things. The next degree of severity is major damage, torn rooftops, collapsed walls, anything of similar severity. The next degree of severity is total destruction, where you see infrastructure completely destroyed, like houses and buildings and structures. And then finally, the most severe degree of destruction is, of course, the worst case scenario. This is death. Now, we will discuss the Philippines and its relation with disasters. In 2022, damages caused by natural disasters amounted to about 30 billion Philippine pesos, mainly due to storms that occurred during the year. The Philippines has a very unfortunate relationship with disasters since, due to its location, the Philippines is highly susceptible to several types of natural disasters. The country is facing increasing threats from climate change, which is expected to make disasters more frequent and more severe. Now, moving on to Patricia. Thank you.
So let's start with an earthquake. Earthquakes are a significant natural disaster affecting various parts of the world. They are particularly prevalent in areas along tectonic plate boundaries, such as the Pacific Ring of Fire. The frequency and impact of earthquakes can vary widely, from minor tremors to catastrophic events located at the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Philippines experiences regular earthquakes. Thousands of tremors are recorded annually, with occasional strong earthquakes causing significant damage. Here's the Pacific Ring of Fire, and there's the Philippines. Like I said, it's the reason why we face a higher risk of earthquakes. Pacific Ring of Fire is an area known for its high seismic activity due to tectonic plate boundaries. It encircles the Pacific Ocean, where about 90% of the world's earthquakes occur, including the Philippines. Let's now focus on the two devastating earthquakes that affected the Philippines. First, the 1976 Moro Gulf earthquakes and tsunami, also known as the Midnight Killers. These catastrophic events struck Mindanao and parts of the Visayas with a magnitude 7.9 earthquake, followed by tsunamis reaching heights up to 90 meters. 8,000 people lost their lives in the destruction, which remained undiscovered until it happened when the local were asleep. The second is 1990 Luzon earthquake. Striking at 4:26 p.m., it lasted approximately 45 seconds, claiming an estimated 2,412 lives and leaving thousands injured. Northern and central Luzon bore the brunt of the impact, with Nueva Ecija identified as the epicenter. The disaster triggered hundreds of thousands of landslides, and areas like Tarlac, Pangasinan, and La Union experienced liquefaction, leading to the formation of sinkhole. With that, here's Ramjhay to explain the do's and don'ts during and after an earthquake.
Thank you, Patricia. Now let's proceed what we need to do's and don'ts before, during, and after earthquake. Before an earthquake, of course, we all know that no one knows if earthquake is coming, but we need to learn first aid. Additionally, we need to prioritize flashlight, extra batteries at home, foods, and the most important, the first aid kit. Now, what to do during an earthquake? Y- The first one, use duck, cover, and hold. Learn how to turn off the gas, water, and electricity that cause fire. Stay calm. If you're indoors, stay inside. If outside, stay outside. Stay away from buildings. Don't use elevators. The last one, what to do after an earthquake. Check yourself and others for injuries. Provide the first aid for anyone who need it. First, the first one, um, we need to check water, gas, and electricity lines for damage, if any are damaged. Stay out of damaged buildings. Be careful around broken glasses. Stay away from beaches. Stay away from damaged areas. Expect aftershock like landslide and tsunami. Now, Gillian will discuss the typhoon.
Thank you, Ramjhay. Now let us move on to the second lesson, wherein we'll discuss the most common natural disaster that our country encounters, namely typhoons. Typhoons, as well as hurricanes and cyclones, are intense tropical storms. It forms when winds blow onto the ocean where the water is warm. They can cause widespread destruction due to strong winds, heavy rainfall, storm surges, and flooding. These storms are prevalent in specific regions around the world, such as the Western Pacific Ocean as well as the Atlantic Ocean. Coastal areas and islands are particularly known to be vulnerable to typhoon impacts. Our country, the Philippines, experiences frequent floods due to heavy rains brought by monsoons and said typhoons. In fact, it's considered one of the most typhoon-prone countries in the world, averaging 20 typhoons a year, with 5 being destructive according to Statista 2024. Heading on to the devastating typhoons that hit the Philippines, first is Typhoon Ondoy in 2009. This tropical cyclone brought heavy rainfall, triggering widespread flooding in Metro Manila and nearby provinces. The floods caught residents off guard, submerging areas rapidly, turning roads into rivers, and forcing thousands to evacuate. Infrastructure damage disrupted transportation and communication systems, and loss of life also occurred, emphasizing the need for better disaster preparedness. Its aftermath highlighted the vulnerability of urban areas to flooding and underscored the importance of effective disaster preparedness and response measures. It spurred efforts to enhance flood control, disaster management, and community resilience in the Philippines. Next is Typhoon Yolanda in 2013. Typhoon Yolanda ranks among the strongest typhoons on record, with winds reaching up to 195 miles per hour and gusts exceeding 230 miles per hour. The storm caused widespread devastation in central Philippines, particularly in Leyte and Samar provinces, flattened entire communities, and resulted in over 6,000 confirmed deaths, with thousands more injured or missing. The high winds and storm surges led to significant loss of life and displacement of over 4 million people, creating a major humanitarian crisis. The extensive flooding and destruction of agricultural lands severely impacted livelihoods and food security in the region. The recovery and reconstruction efforts required substantial international aid and support to address the immense challenges posed by the disaster. Next, Mikaela will be discussing the do's and don'ts before, during, and after typhoons.
Thank you, Gilliane. Now, let's discuss the do's and don'ts before, during, and after a typhoon. With typhoons being a common occurrence in the Philippines, we must always be prepared and aware of what we should and shouldn't do. And never forget, it's never too late to educate yourself. The do's and don'ts before a typhoon. The do's are create an emergency plan and practice drills. Prepare an emergency kit with essential supplies. Secure your home and facilities to minimize flood damage. Inspect and maintain your property, especially your drainage systems. Educate yourself and family members about flood risk and safety. And identify safe spots and evacuation routes. The do nots are: do not ignore weather warnings and flood alerts. Do not neglect emergency supplies and always ensure they are up to date. Do not underestimate hazards like blocked drains or weak structures. Do not panic and always stay calm, informed, and prepared. Do not delay preparedness actions. Always act swiftly to protect your property and yourself. The do's and don'ts during a typhoon. The do's are stay informed and follow evacuation orders. Move to higher ground if instructed or if flooding is imminent. Avoid walking or diving through floodwaters. Listen for emergency information and updates, and assist others in need if it's safe to do so. The do nots are do not walk or dive through floodwaters. They can be deeper or faster moving than they appear. Do not return home until authorities deem it safe. Do not enter flooded areas or buildings. Do not ignore emergency instructions and follow official guidelines. Do not use electrical appliances or touch electrical equipment in flooded areas. And lastly, the do's and don'ts after a typhoon. The do's are check for injuries and administer first aid if needed. Assess and document flood damage for insurance purposes. Listen to emergency broadcasts for updates and instructions. Assist neighbors or others who may need help. Begin cleanup cautiously, always prioritizing safety. The do nots are do not use electrical appliances or utilities until they are deemed safe. Do not enter flood damaged buildings until authorities have declared them safe. Do not touch down-powered lines or electrical wires. Do not spread rumors or misinformation. And lastly, do not overlook the potential for additional flooding or hazards. Now, here is Hernando to discuss our next lesson.
Thank you, Mikaela. Last but not the least, we'll discuss the most common natural disaster nowadays because of how hot it is in the Philippines: fires. Fires, whether wildfires or structural fires, can be devastating disasters. Wildfires occur in many parts of the world, particularly in regions with dry climates or dense vegetation. Structural fires can happen anywhere and are often caused by accidents, electrical faults, or intentional acts. In the Philippines, over 3,000 fires were reported in the first 2 months of 2024, resulting in more than 1.3 billion pesos in damages. This also marks a 25% increase from the same period last year. Here are examples of a devastating fire in the Philippines. In May 2015, the Kentex Sleeper Factory Fire erupted in Valenzuela City, Metro Manila, marking one of the deadliest factory fires in Philippine history. The blaze originated during the morning shift at the Kentex Manufacturing Corporation, a shoe and sleeper manufacturing facility, and swiftly consumed the building due to highly flammable materials and inadequate fire safety measures. Tragically, many factory workers were unable to escape as the fire rapidly spread, trapping them inside. The aftermath was devastating. Over 70 individuals lost their lives, largely due to smoke inhalation or the inability to evacuate the burning premises. Several workers sustained severe injuries, including burns, necessitating urgent medical treatment. This tragic incident brought to light profound deficiencies in workplace safety and fire prevention protocols, sparking widespread outcry and demands for enhanced regulatory oversight. Investigations revealed critical lapses such as the absence of proper fire exits, insufficient fire extinguishers, and lack of regular fire drills. The Kentex factory fire underscored the critical need for stricter safety standards and enforcement across Philippine workplaces to avert similar tragedies. It also ignited conversations about labor rights, occupational safety, and emergency readiness in industrial settings aimed at safeguarding workers and preventing future devastating fires. Another example is the Ozone Disco Fire, which happened in 1996. The tragic Ozone Disco Fire raised national awareness about fire safety and the importance of adhering to the Fire Code of the Philippines. The incident, which claimed the lives of over 160 young partygoers, exposed critical safety failures at the venue. Blocked fire exits, inadequate safety protocols, and inward swinging doors contributed to the deadly stampede and suffocation of victims. The management's negligence, along with failures by the fire department and city engineers, exacerbated the tragedy. Overcrowding and panic further compounded the chaos, highlighting the need for orderly evacuations and emergency preparedness. The event underscored the urgent need for improved safety measures and enforcement to prevent similar disasters in the future. Nino will now discuss the do's and don'ts before, during, and after a fire.
Now we will discuss do's and don'ts before, after, and during a fire. Do's and don'ts before fire. Do create fire escape plan and practice drill regularly. Do install smoke alarms on every level of your home and inside bedroom. Do keep fire extinguisher handy and know how to use them. Do remove fire hazards such as overloaded power strip and flammable materials. Educate yourself and family members about safety and prevention. Identify escape routes and meeting points in case of fire. Do not overlook smoke alarm, test them monthly and replace batteries as needed. Do not block escape routes with clutter or furniture. Do not leave cooking or open flames unattended. Do not use faulty or damaged electrical appliances. Store flammable materials improperly or in excess. Next, we have do's and don'ts during a fire. The do's are stay calm and alert. Stay calm and alert. Do alert others and evacuate immediately if safe to do so. Close the door behind you to slow the spread of fire. Throw under the smoke to breathe clean air. Use wet cloth to cover your nose and mouth. Do call emergency service once safely outside. Do not waste time gathering your belongings. Do not use elevator, use stair instead. Do not re-enter a burning building. Do not open doors that feel hot to touch. And lastly, do not ignore fire alarms or emergency instruction. Lastly, we have do's and don'ts after a fire. The do's are do check for injuries and administer first aid if needed. Do assess and document fire damage for insurance claim. Do follow emergency broadcast for instruction from authorities. Contact loved ones to let them know you're safe. Cooperate with fire investigators. Provide relevant information. Do not re-enter a damaged building until authorities declared it safe. Do not use electrical appliances or utilities until they are deemed safe. Do not touch soot or fire damaged item without proper protection. Do not spread rumors or misinformation about fire. Lastly, do not overlook the risk of hidden embers or flare-ups. Now I will give the floor to Gab.
Thank you, Nino. With all those being said, we would like to leave you a reminder from Steven Siros. When disaster strikes, the time to prepare has passed. Thank you for listening. Please take a moment to provide your feedback through the link Google form, as well as answer the reflection questions we have provided. Finally, here are our references. Again, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day ahead, Josephians.